But moving ahead to F1, Formula One racing, a topic that I know I'm going to love talking about on this show, and I'm hoping we get to talk about it as much as we can. The 2021 season of Formula One returns in March, but just looking ahead and looking back to the 2020 season with Lewis Hamilton winning his 7th world title, just an unbelievable achievement, tying the great Michael Schumacher for world titles, and I enjoyed watching it. It was a pleasure. Pat, what do you think about 7 world titles?
It's just unbelievable. I mean, we see this in other sports where we look at, Tom Brady has gone to 9 Super Bowls. He's won 6. He's been to, I don't even know how many AFC championship games. It possibly could get to an NFC championship game this season. Patriots went to, I forget how many straight from 2011 on. But this has been unbelievable. Not just the amount of world titles that he's won. You mentioned the 7, including last year. He won 4 straight, actually, 17 through 20. But also, he's never since 2007. He's never finished lower than 5th. And I think that's the only. I think it was just one time he was 5th. He's been 2nd a couple of times. He's been 3rd a couple of times. So he's just been so dominant on the F1 racing circuit. To have somebody like that, it's huge for the sport, because now you have a face and you have an athlete who is so dominant that they can carry viewers to F1 than if you have younger racers or racers that aren't quite as well known, race in these contests, that you can kind of get some popularity, or see their popularity rise because Lewis Hamilton is in some of these races. But just an unbelievable dominance from him over really the past 13, 14 years.
No, I agree. I mean, a lot of the argument is that he's driving one of the best cars, but you still have to be one of the best drivers and get it done. I want to compare it to like the Barry Bonds streak of home runs, where people are like, oh, he's on roids, so that's why he's hitting those home runs. You still got to step into the box and pick off a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, right? So it's really one of those things where he was still getting it done, even though he's in one of the better teams and one of the best cars, with Mercedes being really dominant in Formula One over the last decade. But Lewis Hamilton has really been that driving force. I think you really got to see his skill this year in 2020, a challenge 2020, obviously due to COVID, with the calendar of Formula One being changed, the protocols of Formula One being changed, no fans, but you really got to see some of his best racing going forward. The Grand Prix in Silverstone and Grand Prix of Great Britain, where he finished the race on 3 tires, finished on a punctured tire, and still won the race. I mean, have you ever tried driving your car on 3 tires with a puncture? It's not easy, and especially going 150 to 200 miles an hour. So that really showed his brilliance there. But then again, later in the season at Turkey, on a wet track, a difficult track, the car really wasn't suited to be really one of the top cars and one of the front runners in that race, but he still went ahead. I think he started P6 on the grid, still went ahead and won the race with a car that, like I said, really wasn't built for that track or built to win that day. Showed his aggressiveness, showed his skill in the car, really went ahead, took himself to the front. That's why you're seeing that he's a 7-time world champion. And Formula One is this international mega sport, and he is the international mega superstar, up there with the likes of a Michael Jordan and a Tiger Woods.
Right. And he talked about how, some folks have said that because he's got such a good car that's why he's won so many titles over the last few years. But you also just made the case for why he's the best, because of the adversity that he's had to deal with on the track, going on only 3 wheels, winning on a wet track where his car wasn't ready for a track like that. So that just shows you how good of a racer he is, and it's not just about the car for Lewis Hamilton. He's going to be fun to watch in this upcoming F1 season, obviously, once again.